earlier this year, we had a first look at Blue Origin's new lunar lander, designed to transport Artemis astronauts to the Moon's surface and back to orbit. Just yesterday, the company revealed a full physical lander demonstrator named Mark 1. As SpaceX awaits the FAA's license approval for another Starship launch, leading American astronomers just declared that NASA's next wave of great observatories should take advantage of game-changing lift capabilities offered by gargantuan new rockets such as Starship. Indeed, what NASA astronomers have just declared about SpaceX's Starship potential will blow your mind. In fact, this is definitely another huge push for Starship to be launched soon. So let's go ahead and dive into this and more in today's episode.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of my channel.
The advent of SpaceX's Starship, a groundbreaking, fully reusable spacecraft, is poised to revolutionize the space industry and unlock numerous opportunities across various sectors. Designed for both interplanetary and Earth-to-Earth transportation, Starship has the potential to transform space exploration, research, and industry by significantly reducing launch costs, increasing payload capacity, and enabling more frequent space missions. As a result, the availability of greater mass and volume capability at lower cost enlarges the design space. We want to take advantage of that. Charles Lawrence, the chief scientist for astronomy and physics at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, said recently. Lawrence's presentation dealt with the impact of large new launch vehicles on future astronomy missions. The presentation was given last week alongside Martin Elvis, an astronomer at the Harvard-Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics, and Sarah Seeger, an astrophysicist and planetary scientist at MIT. Lawrence, Elvis and Seeger authored a paper earlier this year in the journal Physics Today discussing this topic. According to that, they pointed out some main potential of Starship, most notably those related to mass, size, and cost. We all know that in the realm of missions to space that involve astrophysics, the capabilities of launchers have remained largely stagnant for the past 2 decades, imposing significant constraints. However, the Starship promises to introduce 3 transformative changes. The first is enhanced payload mass and size. Traditionally, missions to low Earth orbit have been restricted to payloads with a mass ranging from approximately 10 to 25 metric tons. The Starship User's Guide boldly asserts its capability to transport payloads of up to 100 tons to low Earth orbit, marking a remarkable 4 to 10-fold increase in comparison to other launchers. Moreover, the Starship can officially deploy 21 tons into geostationary transfer orbit and approximately 18 tons into a Sun-Earth L2 Lagrange point orbit, a highly favored location for various astrophysics missions, including the James Webb Space Telescope. Notably for NASA's lunar Starship human landing system, in-orbit refueling is an essential requirement. But besides that, one of the revolutionary changes the Starship introduces is the expansion of cargo bays. Space observatories are traditionally deployed from the payload fairing of their respective launchers, with interfering diameters averaging between 4 to 5 meters. In stark contrast, the Starship boasts an impressive doubling of this diameter, reaching a remarkable 8 meters. This augmentation promises to enable more substantial and versatile payloads. Finally, we have cost efficiency. The conventional model for launcher development and construction typically emails costs exceeding $100 million, both costing around $60 million. Though, it is worth noting that the production of the Proton M vehicles ended in 2022. The Starship aspires to further disrupt the industry by achieving cost-effectiveness superior to even the Falcon 9 rocket. The ultimate aim is to significantly reduce the financial burden associated with launches. To better understand the importance of Starship, according to the report, a tangible example of this paradigm shift can be observed in the design phase of NASA's modest-sized spectrophotometer for the history of the universe, Epoch of Reionization and ISIS Explorer, or Sphere-X. Engineers harnessed the available mass capacity provided by the SpaceX Falcon 9 launch vehicle to solve challenges and manage costs effectively. For instance, they opted for aluminum honeycomb panels over technically intricate soft goods-based technology for the Sun-Earth shade, substantially mitigating risk due to the Falcon 9 launch vehicle's excess mass capabilities. The James Webb Space Telescope serves as a poignant illustration of the complications arising from stringent size and mass constraints. This mirror, no pun intended, the design challenge is faced by the Hubble telescope but on a much larger scale. Nearly 6 times its size. In the context of these constraints, project scientists had to develop innovative lightweight high-stiffness to mass technologies. However, these constraints led to various consequences, such as reduced slew rates and prolonged settling times, ultimately limiting the scientific work that could be accomplished each day. While the JWST ultimately succeeded in its deployment, vindicating the chosen technical approach, the intricacies of the design demanded extensive planning and testing, thus increasing costs and extending the project's schedule. In contrast, the expansive fairing diameter and volume of Starship could have accommodated for the 6.5-meter JWST primary mirror as a single component with a mass per square meter similar to that of Hubble. However, NASA astronomers also said that while Starship presents an exciting opportunity, it's important to acknowledge potential caveats. There's the possibility that it may not meet expectations, operating at a higher cost with produced mass capabilities or failing to achieve on-orbit refueling. The launch costs provided by SpaceX are likely estimates, and the actual customer price could be higher. In order to send any of these telescopes into deep space toward the L2 Lagrange point, where they would observe the universe far away from interference from Earth, Starship would need to be refueled in orbit. The effort invested in planning for Starship's success, even if it ultimately fails, is minor compared to the potential gains for astronomy. Furthermore, Blue Origin gave out quite a bit more info, including the plans for this initial lander, how it evolves into Mark II, which is made specifically for Artemis, its operations on the Moon, and even some of the mission goals. At the same time, we're also hearing more about SpaceX's Starship lunar lander and timeline concerns in particular, which NASA brought up before. The agency is now looking at both companies and options to determine what will be complete and by when. Here I'll go more in depth into Blue Origin's lunar lander progress, NASA's schedule concern for both SpaceX and Blue Origin, the future plan, and more. Yesterday, Blue Origin tweeted saying, "We unveiled our nearly 3-story Blue Moon Mark I cargo lander demonstrator. Mark I's early missions will pave the way and prove technologies for our Mark II lander for NASA's Human Landing System." This included an image of the large mock lander with Bezos and NASA Administrator Bill Nelson, among other agency officials. Besides just tweets, the company shared a bit more information on a new web page. Here, they are quoted saying, "Blue Moon Mark I or 1 Malawian Kwacha is a single-launch lunar cargo lander that remains on the surface and provides safe, reliable, and affordable access to the lunar environment. Mark I will provide cargo transport, leveraging the 7-meter fairing of the nuclear and launch vehicle to deliver up to 3 metric tons anywhere on the lunar surface." With these tweets and official statements highlighted is that there will be 2 landers, Mark I and Mark II. Mark I will be available to payload customers and also serve as a core test unit without crew and payloads initially, assuming missions go well and the system works as intended. Mark II will be the lander actually responsible for carrying humans to the surface of the Moon and back, a part of the Artemis missions. In regard to this, back in May, NASA selected Blue Origin to develop a lunar lander to transport astronauts on Artemis missions starting at the end of the decade. The value of the fixed-price award was $3.4 billion, and the contract includes a demonstration landing on Artemis V, currently scheduled for no earlier than late 2029, as well as an uncrewed test flight to the lander about 1 year earlier. This all matches up with what Blue Origin just revealed. What's interesting though is the idea that Mark I will become available to the public similar to the CLPS or Commercial Lunar Payload Services contracts. In another statement, Blue Origin says, "The Pathfinder mission Mark I, SN001 will be a demonstration mission, with Mark II, SN002 and beyond available to payload customers." This is very broad and could mean a bunch of different things. However, because of the large size of the mock lander, realistically, in order for that type of service to be profitable, the payloads being delivered would have to be part of a significant contract. In other words, just carrying some small commercial payloads like Blue wouldn't cut it. This could mean that they're hoping for a large future Artemis contracts to carry cargo and other supplies to the surface. Recently, the senior vice president of lunar transportation at Blue Origin commented, "We're building our landers, both our Mark 1 and our Mark 2, to enable global landing capability on the moon day or night." The company also posted a statement saying Mark 1, SN001, proves out critical systems, including the B7 engine, cryogenic fluid power and propulsion systems, avionics, continuous downlink communications, and precision landing within 100-meter site accuracy prior to the uncrewed NASA Human Landing System mission for the Artemis program. With all things considered, Mark 1 seems to be a crucial stepping stone for the company before they start attempting missions with humans aboard. In the future, these landers are intended to hitch a ride into space in New Zealand's 7-meter ferry. Mark 1 will be capable of delivering 3 metric tons to any location on the moon's surface. That capacity would make it ideal for a variety of logistics, infrastructure, and science payloads. To add to everything, the landers are architected for that future day when lunar ice can be used to manufacture LOX and LH2 propellants on the moon. That's Blue Origin's long-term goal and plan with this lander infrastructure. With future Artemis missions approaching, including Artemis 3, which is expected to land humans on the surface, the need for an operational lunar lander is becoming more important by the day. In the last few months, there's been a lot of talk regarding Blue Origin's lunar lander and primarily SpaceX's, which needs to be ready first. In a recent interview with Dr. Lisa Watson-Morgan, the manager of the Human Landing System or HLS program, operating at NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center in Huntsville, Alabama, we got more information on the landers and the overall schedule. She mentioned that getting these landers ready for their debut on the Artemis 3 and Artemis 5 mission respectively for SpaceX and Blue Origin provide both numerous challenges, as well as unique opportunities. "I think we have great challenges in front of us," she said. "Right now, today, I don't see anything that's stopping us, but that's today." She went on to say, "That's the beauty of our model. We take the best of what our government does, our expertise, and then we take a leap with the technological innovation from the industry. We need to do this in order to save costs and make a business case out of this and give you the value and good price," Watson-Morgan said. "That's where it's such an engineering art and that we have to balance what they need to do to be successful from a business standpoint, but also to make sure we're doing all that we can for crew safety. And the crew is locked in step with us on both Blue and on SpaceX," she said. As mentioned prior, there's been a lot of talk lately about SpaceX's lunar lander and whether or not they will complete it in time. For example, a few months ago, speaking at a joint meeting of the National Academy's Aeronautics and Space Engineering Board and Space Studies Board, Jim Free, NASA Associate Administrator for Exploration Systems Development, said Artemis 3 was in danger of being delayed from December 2025 to sometime in 2026. He went on to clarify that SpaceX and the Starship HLS system in particular was what he was worried about. Specifically, he pointed out the number of Starship launches that SpaceX has to carry out to be ready for Artemis 3. Each Starship lander mission requires launching the Starship lander itself as well as several tanker Starships to fuel the lander in Earth orbit before it goes to the moon. "That's a lot of launches to get those missions done," Free said. "They have a significant number of launches to go and that, of course, gives me concern about the December of 2025 date for Artemis 3. He continued by saying, "With the difficulties that SpaceX has had, I think that's really concerning. You can think about that slipping probably into 26, he said. On the other hand, the interview with Watson-Morgan seems to suggest that it's possible. However, there are some major challenges ahead. She noted her past experience as a deputy director at the engineering directorate at Marshall Space Flight Center and more than 30 years as an engineer and manager leads her to fully support and cherish SpaceX's approach to getting its lander ready. At the same time, she pointed out in a quote that, "I would be remiss if I didn't say we're concerned about the SpaceX schedule for HLS, and the concern is that our critical path, even today, goes through these test flights. Schedule for us is key, and we're working very closely with SpaceX on ensuring that this next test, making sure that they're ready for it, understanding what they need to achieve from it, and understanding the risk. And they're all high risk, Watson Morgan said. She also mentioned, in addition to the more highly visible flight test campaign, the HLS program and SpaceX have been stepping through some of the developmental milestones and needed to support the version of Starship for the Artemis program. When asked about Blue Origin, she commented that her team is spending roughly equal time between SpaceX and Blue Origin-led teams, which are working on similar but very different technology challenges. We have one team that's not too terribly big, but certainly big enough to go in and do deeper risk-based insight dives on things like propellant transfer, because both Blue Origin and SpaceX have that, she said. Different fuels and different architectures, but still, at the end of the day, when you look at it, the cryofluid management is going to be key for both of them. She finished with one last quote highlighting, "We do it up front so that there aren't questions or concerns or confusion as to how the system should be built in order for later on, for a team to come in and be able to human rate the system." So it's super challenging, but it's also super exciting. Blue Origin just revealed its new Mark 1 lunar lander, along with some key information. This initial model will test the design and plans to land on the moon with cargo before Mark 2 is ready to land and transport humans. We will have to wait and see how it progresses and the impact it has in the space industry. Well, if you like this video, make sure to give a thumbs up and subscribe. See you in the next video. Thanks for watching. By the way, are you familiar Tok Philippines app? Tok is a delivery service app designed to connect more people by delivering items door to door. For more information, download the Tok app, here down below.